Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Smason, and welcome once again to NOLA Theater Talk, our group that meets on Mondays and Fridays. You can watch this show on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, on the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, and also on my own YouTube channel. This is intended to be a discussion about theater as it affects the New Orleans theater community at large. We've discussed a number of different items and things of that sort that have had a local impact. We've also, of course, had a number of original works that we presented with a number of New Orleans area actors. We've been very pleased to have had original productions as well as to have an opportunity to showcase some of the work of some of our local playwrights. We've done several pieces by Rosary O'Neill. We've done several pieces by John Bigonnet. Again, those of you who have not seen it, Rob Florence's Katrina's Path was done, and an original piece not that long ago called Simpson's Pride by Stephen Maitland Lewis. The idea being that we're able to come together as a theater community, but also to be able to support one another in our efforts. Recently, we just did another piece by Rosary O'Neill called The Awakening of Kate Chopin with some marvelous actors. Again, all of these works are up on the Music Lovers YouTube channel that I have. You can watch all of that, or go back on the archives of any one of the pages I mentioned, the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, or perhaps the Facebook group that we have dealing with this as well, NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group. But again, NOLA Theater Talk, the name of the show. And tonight we're going to tackle a subject we have not really talked about a lot. And again, it's at-risk youth. And one of the best organizations for helping teenagers who are on the streets, no matter where they are, but particularly here in New Orleans, is a group that is known nationally, but has had a wonderful presence here in New Orleans called Covenant House. And we're going to talk about some fundraising efforts that are going on as a result of people who are also known in the theater community. And so without any further ado, I want to bring on our friend, one of the original Big Easy boys, again, a guy who played Georg on stage not once but twice a couple of years back. And who was in She Loves Me and also in The Sound of Music as both leading roles of note. And he also works during the daytime and in his day job as the director of development and at Covenant House. And of course, we're talking about none other than Rich Arnold. Rich, welcome to the show. I did a little bit of a setup there for you, but again, interestingly enough, that you did play Georg, two characters, leading roles. I mean, I don't think you could have picked that any other better if you'd done it yourself. But and fantastic work, both in She Loves Me and The Sound of Music. Although I had seen The Sound of Music on any number of occasions, that was really the first outing that I got to see a local production of She Loves Me, and I'm in love with that work. I just thought it was wonderful.
Well, I got to say, Alan, it feels like that was 10 years ago. I mean, it was at least we ended, at least I ended. I was blessed to be able to end it on a high note, before the whole world went dark, and we haven't performed in a year, but I got to perform opposite both Sarah Jane McMahon and Dodie Piper in two phenomenal shows, and it was really rewarding. So I can't tell you how much I miss it. That's all I have to say.
It was rewarding for you, but even better for us in the audience because we got to share your joy. Dodie, to me, was just over the top, one of the best things I had ever seen in terms of her taking over that role. And it's not an easy role.
She was robbed. She deserved the Big Easy. No, I don't know. Everyone always deserves it, but she was phenomenal.
She was, and of course Sarah Jane also, that wonderful performance she did. I mean, you can't take away from anybody. I know that a lot of people who were on the Big Easy committee had taken to a smaller role, not nearly as much orchestra involved, and it was a different kind of role, and they were enamored of that too. So again, not to take away from anybody's performance, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Sometimes you have to have people who win. I mean, keep in mind that that in 2003, the show that has established itself as the biggest box office maker on Broadway, a juggernaut, lost to Avenue Q. I'm talking about Wicked. So Stephen Schwartz, I'm sure, would have loved to have had the Tony Award for that year, but he's laughing all the way to the bank right now. I somehow think that he's very happy the way that Wicked turned out, and that it's still doing the kind of box office, or at least it had been doing until the pandemic, that it was doing, and still probably will outshine all the other shows that come down the path. But let's not move on. Let's talk a little bit about Covenant House. Tell me a little bit, first off, how you, as somebody involved in the theater community, found out about Covenant House. Was it something you had been engaged with in other ways, social work, or any other way that you got involved with it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess to start, I would explain that, I used to be an actor first, and I would have odd jobs second. Right? I worked when I lived in New York. I worked at Merrill Lynch on the side, and then that all changed after Katrina, and I moved back to New Orleans. And really, at that point, my theater work came second, and working to help the community recover from Katrina was really my first passion. And so I worked under Jim Kelly, who was at the time, he was the president and CEO of Catholic Charities, and he founded an affordable housing development company to help rebuild affordable housing after Katrina. And that's how I got started in the nonprofit world. And then it turns out that Jim Kelly returned to Covenant House, which he had previously founded 30 years ago, and recruited me to come back and join him there as his director of development. So that became my passion. I've now been there for about almost 9 years now. And it's been really, really rewarding work. And that really is my first love, is my work there. And my theater work is a second.
I seem to remember meeting up with you prior to your leaving for New York. I think it was like you were getting ready to leave. And I want to say it was sometime around maybe 2003 or 2004. Is that possible?
Right. You're right. So what happened was I came back, and it was only supposed to be like a year or so where I was going to come back after Katrina and help save the world. Right. And then what happened was I fell in love with New Orleans again. And anyone who's here after Katrina knows the feeling, is that, being a part of the recovery was just so meaningful. Being a part of this thriving community of people that were all just, a buzzing sense of overwhelming interest in seeing the city come back. And it was, I was infected by that energy. And so I ended up staying over 2 years. And then I had to say, wait, no, I'm not done. I'm not done with New York. I don't want to give up on that dream. So I moved back. But then the whole time I was there, I kept flying back to New Orleans to do theater projects. And I also was still working for the Affordable Housing Development Company here in New Orleans. And so my heart was here, long story short. So I made it official another year and a half, 2 years later, and have been back here ever since.
I'm going to break in and ask what you're drinking tonight. I'm having a Negroni, so I didn't know what you had.
This is a Chardonnay, and I don't know, it's whatever. I'm actually at the beach right now with my family.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah. Whatever white wine was in the fridge. I got to say, I actually gave up booze for Lent, but when I'm at the beach, I give myself a special dispensation.
Wine is not booze, especially on a Friday night. You're making a kiddush, the way I look at it. You're just making a kiddush. Not have to worry about it. So the deal is again. You got into Jim Kelly. He got you involved as far as it goes, but. As I recall, also, did you not work for a short time with some of the cruise ships doing some shows, and you were exposed to like Jersey Boys and a Jersey Boys show or something like that was on
right.
ships?
So when I was in New York, I performed with a group that was doing a Jersey Boys tribute act that I realized, honestly, the show itself was really not that good, to be frank, but it was wildly successful. And I would go, on a cruise for 5 or 7 days and get paid a pretty handsome salary. And I would sublet my apartment and be treated like a rock star, because on these ships, they just loved the guest entertainers, and come back. And I'm like, if they can do it, I can do that, So that was what inspired, with my friend Casey Marino, who was also in that group in New York. We decided that we would put together our own group. And we at first started with a Beach Boys tribute act, and then we expanded it to include the Jersey Boys Four Seasons material. And then what we discovered, that contrary to what we did in New York, where there was a lot of shtick involved, there was a lot of sort of we had struggled to put together a plot and have like stereotypical roles for each of the guys. The feedback down here was that just be yourselves, and the people want to know the music, they want to get to know you. And so that's what really birthed the Big Easy Boys, where we started just focusing on presenting the awesome music of that era, the 50s and 60s. And we did a lot of music with the New Orleans ties, New Orleans artists, and then we were ourselves, and we connected with the audience, and we had people just really responded to it. So since then, the company has grown, and we've traveled all over the Gulf South region. And for the past year, it's been tough, but we've got a lot of bookings that we think will start happening late summer, early fall. And right now, since you brought it up,
any boats, any cruise ships?
So I'll break some news. No cruise ships yet. But for that, we really gotta. The problem with the cruise ships is you really gotta.
You can't have more than 250 if you're in the United States, I believe. I think
the business model, I think, will work great. And if there are any casting agents right now, give me a call. But the problem is that all of those, the cruise ships all cast really from showcases in Florida, or you get hired in New York. It's tough to get booked from a showcase in New Orleans. But what I know is that, having done it in New York, is these cruise ships will pay New York actors to fly to the point of origin, the port of origin, and to do these cruise ships and then fly them back. Where New Orleans, if there are so many cruises that depart New Orleans, and so if we have a show that has New Orleans material that features local actors, they can save that cost, and they have a group that is highly talented doing New Orleans material that's appropriate for the cruise. And they don't have to put us up in hotels and all that. And so I think it's a great business model, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. So we've done a lot of festivals. We've done Festival South. We've done Cruising the Coast. We've done, major theaters in Lafayette and Florida, et cetera. But the cruise ships are sort of the next run.
And you said you had an announcement, you said.
So the announcement is that we're now in the midst of COVID, when there's no performing, and I was trying to figure out, how do we be productive with our time? In talking to some other venues, we realized there's a lot of interest in educational shows. And I know that there's a lot of interest in that as well in New Orleans, with people that really want to learn about New Orleans' vast musical cultural heritage. And so in tying together those two things, about the interest from schools and other markets, and also the local interest in learning about our roots, we decided to put together a new historical musical act that's focused on all of from Buddy Bolden to John Baptiste, right? So all of the acts dating back to Storyville, all the way to Tipitina's and beyond, that we can then pitch both to schools and also to maybe the Cabildo and Le Petit, and as a show both for tourists and for locals, that we think has a lot of good prospects.
So have you got a name for it yet, or is it still in a stage where you're keeping it all under your hat?
We're still, so Jonathan Drury, my Big Easy Boy, that I've hired to help me with this. We just a few weeks ago, we had a retreat here, and he's got all the index cards out there, and we're all the artists, James Booker and Louis Prima, and I mean, there's so many New Orleans artists.
Oh, absolutely, and I mean, I could tell you there's some that may not come to mind offhand. As an example, Chris Kenner had some major hits. Like The Name of the Place, I Like It Like That, Sick and Tired, and things of that sort. And then, of course, you had the one-hit wonders, the Jesse Hill, Oop-Oop-A-Doo, and you had people like Oliver Morgan, Who Shot the Lala, all of those.
Alan, I've got my list out. I'll throw out some of the names that are included. All right. Professor Longhair, Fats Domino, Dave Bartholomew, Alan Toussaint, Cosimo Matassa, Dr. John, the Dixie Cups, Irma Thomas, Mahalia Jackson, Louis Prima, the Marsalis family, the Neville family. Then we got the one-hit wonders like Frankie Ford did the ooh, or
actually, he did Sea Cruise.
Sea Cruise, right? Sorry, that one is Frogman Henry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing too was Frankie Ford did a number of songs that were popular locally, like Under Alimony. It was called Alimonia, but Frankie was always a big favorite here. He would always perform and always do well, and he was a character. If you've ever met him, which I count him among my many memories of being with him. Every year he was at the Orpheescapade as a guest of the crew. Yeah.
Well, that's what we're having so much fun right now, just doing that history, and the list keeps going on. Ernie Cato and Bernie Spellman and Smiley Lewis. I mean, it's just so. The challenge is how do we put this all together and make this.
And somebody who had a profound influence on Alan Toussaint and Dr. John, who you probably have never heard of, Huey Piano Smith.
Yeah,
Huey Piano Smith
for sure.
Fantastic. I mean, one of the big songs that was on Broadway came out of Chaz Palminteri, that he had in his film that he did of the Bronx Tale. Had a big piece in that as well. So a lot of stuff like that.
Black pneumonia and high blood pressure, and actually Huey P. Smith is the one that he actually did Sea Cruise, and it was made famous by Frankie Ford.
Frankie Ford used the same backup group.
Yeah,
his the Clowns
over Huey P. Smith's track. So these things, Jonathan is leading the research train, and I'm also doing a little WWOZ Friends of the Cabildo historical class right now and learn all about it. So
good. Well, look, if there's anything I can help you with along those lines, let me know. One of the things that I always tell people is if you got something musical that's going on about New Orleans or something that has to do that deals with Broadway or anything along those lines, let me know what it is. I'll give you a good example. Years ago, On the Air came out at the World War II Museum, and it was an original script that Sean Patterson had written. Gary Rucker starred in it, along with Courtney Anderson, Courtney Bowe at that time. Again, we had people like, I think Troy Bechet was in it, and I think Adela Johnson was in it, and I think even Bob Eads Jr. was in it as the station manager. And they had an ending song, the 11th hour number, if you will, that they had of You'll Never Walk Alone from Carousel. So the play is set Mother's Day, 1945, right? Carousel opened in 1945, but it didn't open until the fall. So there was absolutely no way that somebody in New Orleans would have been able to listen to a Rodgers and Hammerstein piece before it had opened. Okay. So, it was one of those things. And when I talked to Victoria Reed about it, I said, that couldn't have happened. He says, I know, but it was just too good a song to not have. And I said, I understand, but, we have to be, truthful about it. So if there's anything along those lines that I can sort of help you through and maybe figure a way around it, I'm happy to do that.
We'll give you a consultant credit.
Yes. Let's get on to the reason that you're on tonight. And that is to talk essentially, about this guy, Brian Sands, right? Brian has been doing some amazing work. And again, when you talk about somebody who bicycles all the time, the first person in my mind would be Brian. He does bicycling everywhere, he just goes everywhere on a bike. I mean, a lot of times I say, Brian, would you like a ride? He says, no, I'm okay. He loves the bike. So apparently he wanted to get involved with you some years ago. He got involved with Covenant House, I guess, because you had approached him in some way about maybe making a donation. And he said, well, rather than make a donation, rather than let me give you a fish, so to speak, why don't you teach me how to fish, or words along those, and then I can give you fish the rest of my life. So the point is that he decided to do some kind of fundraising on his own, and he did quite well. I think he said the first year maybe he raised around $6,000.
So I think that's right. And then ever since then, he's bested his totals every year, and here he raised
Yeah.
Last year he raised over 30, and this year I think he's on track to best maybe $40,000. So basically over 8 years he will have raised about $150,000.
Well, let's just put it this way. Right now his goal is $25,000, and we're not gonna stem the tide there. Let's just keep him going. If he makes it past 25,000, so much the better. But let's talk a little bit about Brian. Now, first off, Brian and I are both members of the Big Easy Committee. We've both known each other. I'm the senior member of the committee, and he is the next senior member of the committee by only a couple of months. I mean, literally a few weeks separate our tenure on the committee. I'm trying to think when it was. Was it 2018? I'm thinking it was 2018. The year that we just went through, I can't remember exactly. Was it 2018 or 2019? Must have been 2019 now that I'm thinking about it. 2019, I'm on Broadway, right? I'm minding my own business. I'm going to see shows. I just landed in what used to be called Idlewild, right? Now has gone back to the original name in New York for the airport. Remember which one it is?
The New York airport?
Right. There's JFK.
LaGuardia?
LaGuardia. It used to be LaGuardia. Then they called it Idlewild, and then it went back to LaGuardia. Yeah. Anyway, anyway, the long and the short is that I landed in LaGuardia. I was on Broadway that night going to see a show. I look up, and who's walking past me but Brian Sands. And Brian is on his way to see Tootsie. I was going to see Tootsie on Friday. I had tickets to see Beetlejuice, and I ended up seeing Beetlejuice with my friend Alex Rybeck, who you may know is a pianist and arranger, composer, wonderful man.
Yeah,
and
I did Yale Cabaret Conference with him.
Yes. I didn't realize you had gone to that conference from New Orleans. You went up there because there's so many people that went to that conference. And anyway, long and the short is that I'm in New York from New Orleans, minding my business, and Brian, another theater critic from New Orleans, minding his own business. We meet. It's just happenstance, but just one of those things. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit when I actually talk to Brian. But
let me say, Brian is just an incredibly special human being. Like, he really is, and I feel blessed to have gotten to know him more as a person as well. Obviously, I'm incredibly overwhelmed with generosity for what he's done for Covenant House. But more than that, I just admire him. How he's all in. Everything he does, he's all in. And I put him sort of up there in the same circles as Becky Allen and Ricky, and that are just the sort of quintessential New Orleans where there's no one like him. He's Brian. And anybody who knows him understands that and gets that he's all heart. He's 100% genuine, and what he does to put himself out there on the line is really amazing. Like, he recognizes that New Orleans is a city that with tremendous needs, and we have the most needs of any major city in the country, in a market that's one of the smallest in the country with the least wealth of the country. And so, he recognized that, and he's like, what can I do? What part can I play? And he didn't just do the minimum. He went above and beyond. And I've just been blown away.
Can you tell me a little bit about the money that's being raised? I mean, what does Covenant House do in just a short, maybe 3 sentences or whatever? I mean, what is it that they do, and why is it that you and Brian both, and several other people, I mean, Audra McDonald sleeps outdoors every year on Broadway as fundraisers, for Covenant House in New York. So what is it that you all do, and why is your mission so important?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. Essentially, what we are is we're a crisis center for young people between the ages of 16 and 22. I like to say we're a crisis center and not just a homeless shelter, because we're so much more than a shelter. And we know that it takes, yes, we do provide food and clothing and, a roof over their heads, et cetera. But we know that it also takes, employment counseling, education, GED, life skills. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Mental health services, behavioral health. what we can provide these young people, we know that all of that is necessary to help them put them on a path towards independence and sustainability. The young people that we care for have been through some really, really, really rough circumstances. About 85% are suffering from the effects of severe trauma. Many of them have been physically or sexually abused. But the thing is that we don't, I need to make sure that people know that, but that's not what we focus on, because there's so much more than just the fact their homelessness. Their homelessness is just a small part of who they are. And so that's been the blessing of my job, is I've gotten to see all the success stories. I've gotten to see all the young people who've come through our program and started with nothing, and then gotten to a place where they've saved up enough to find their own apartment, and then we help them get a job. And then you see them just blossom into their own, the person they were destined to be. And they have so much potential and promise. And I just wish that everyone could see the young people go through that journey from start to finish, because it's very easy to look at a young person on the street or in prison, or if it's committed a crime, and just think this is a throwaway kid that has no chance at life. And you could not be more wrong. And the kids that come through Covenant House, we care for about 200 every night. 100 on site, 100 off site, and they are just incredibly brave and beautiful people, and they have so much to offer this world, and they're not throwaways, and they deserve love. And often the reason they're with us is because they've been pushed away and they've been rejected by those that should have loved them unconditionally. And so it falls to us as a community to show them that love, and to say that we accept you for who you are, and we believe in the promise of your futures. And that's what we do.
Rich, I don't want to keep you too long, because I know you and I had talked about, you being with us for just a bit, but we're getting ready to talk to Brian in just a little bit about his part in this. But I did want to, ask you mentioned 100 people on site, 100 people off site. In other words, they are able to care for themselves, are able to establish apartments of their own, et cetera, off site.
Right. So we have some apartments just for survivors of human trafficking. We have some apartments just for chronically mentally ill. We have some just for mothers and children. About a third of our young women are mothers. And so we've got about 80 toddlers in our care as well. So we've got a number of apartments in the community. Some are set aside just for young residents who are independent enough that we can find them a place in the community, and then continue to provide services. So everyone has individual, unique needs. And I know I said I was going to be quick, but the more that as soon as you get me talking about Covenant House, I'll go on and on and on. But all I can say is it's just been a tremendous gift to be a part of this organization, and to find work that's meaningful, and that I know that makes an impact in people's lives. So I thank not only Brian, but all those who have donated to support his cause and my cause, through the years, because it really does help people in need. I'm
going to put up the link right now. This is the link to go to Facebook to make the donation. So everybody can just go facebook.com/donate, and that's /donate, and then /. And this is where the big thing is a 297-527-558-430-710. I'm leaving it up there because that's a long list of numbers, and people may want to handle, they may want to do a screenshot right now, or they may want to write it down, but that's how you donate directly to the cause. Now, there is another link that I've got to donate for Brian's bicycling that I'm going to put up in just a little bit. It's a little bit longer. It's got more numbers and letters, etc. And it also carries with it, unfortunately, a 4% fee for processing. This does not carry a fee. And again, do you have another way of donating if somebody had a direct?
Absolutely. What I would say, somebody just email me. So Arnold, RARNOLD @covenanthouse.org.
Okay.
That's the easiest way. And I'll make it happen. There are various other ways to get there, but that's Arnold @covenanthouse.org. Tell folks to email me, and I can facilitate the donation.
I'll do better than that. How's that?
There you go.
All right. So hopefully, those of you out there who are looking to make a donation directly to them, or if you want to support Brian in his efforts, and we're going to talk to Brian just a little bit, like I said, we've got the Facebook sign up as well as the other one that I mentioned, and I'll throw it up here right now, but it's just so many letters and so many donates. It's like, oh my God, I'm not sure anybody's going to be able to get all that written down. But that one does cost 4% of. So in other words, if you donate $104, $100 will go to Covenant House, but $4 will come off the top to pay for processing. So if you really want to give, $30 and not $30 less 4%, which would, be what, like $1.20 or whatever.
Right.
Please keep in mind that the one to go with is the Facebook page, and donate it that way. So hopefully that'll work out. I want to thank you for being with me tonight. Very, very important work that you're doing. And again, I hope to hear about the Big Easy boys again, the Big Easy gals too. That was another aspect of what you were doing that came about as a result of your work with the guys, and the girls almost had a life of their own. Are they going to have a show of their own, or?
Well, they're going to be included in this one, the Big Easy Babes. Yeah, they will be part of this new educational show we're doing, and they're available for hire on their own or in combination with the boys. So our website is bigeasyboys.com, that you can find out all about both the boys and the babes, and then Covenant House is covenanthouseNOLA.org.
Okay, very much. Thank you very much for you being with me tonight, Rich. And again,
congrats on your new
all right,
new web series. Looking forward to watching in the future.
All right, thank you. All right, thanks again. All right, let's do this. Let's go ahead and as we say goodnight to Rich, let's go ahead and try to share out a little something that we wanted to deal with, and I'm going to talk with everybody about the fact that my good friend Brian Sands has been trying to do what he can to raise money for Covenant House. Let's go ahead and see if we can share out our conversation with him, and let's see if we can make this happen. Once again, I want to welcome everybody to NOLA Theater Talk. My name is Alan Smason, and we've been having a lovely conversation with Rich Arnold of Covenant House. Now I would like to bring on the man of the hour, Brian Sands, who we've been talking about. Brian, welcome to the show. Again, we're so glad to have you and to talk a little bit about where you're coming from. Again, we're both theater critics. This is kind of where we both got to know each other and our work. And you've been working at Ambush Magazine since 1996, if I'm not mistaken.
I started doing articles for them and interviews, and became theater editor at Shannon at the end of 2002. And on his retirement in 2011, I became the sole theater critic for Ambush.
And you've been with the Big Easy Theater Committee, as I have been, for more than 20 years now, or as close to 20 years. Yeah. So and again, you and I both are the two senior members of the committee now. Many other people who have served are no longer on the committee. Unfortunately, some of them, like Al Shea, have passed, and then of course others, and Patrick, you mentioned earlier, and then of course others, have come on the committee and then either rotated off or just decided that they didn't feel like they could face all of the exigencies of what was involved in going to all the different places. We see approximately 50 or 60 or more productions a year.
I say closer to 100.
Yeah. Well, you're a busy bee. You go to a lot of them. I go to as many as I can, but you actually take the extra effort to go cover the North Shore as well, which
I do it especially because they've opened up again sooner than here in all this parish. I've been doing since July to theaters in Bill, Covington, Tula, and there's been some really great performances up there.
And that brings up a very interesting point. A lot of people in New Orleans, they utilize Uber, or they might utilize their own private vehicles, or in many cases, they have friends who will pick them up and bring them to different places. You are the exception to that rule. You bicycle everywhere that I know of, right?
Well, I don't bicycle to the North Shore.
That's what I was getting at.
Yes. No, I depend on either some friends and they get to see see some great shows, and we explore points that I would not have the opportunity to do so otherwise. And just recently saw great productions of The Glass Menagerie at Playmakers Theater in Covington, and Neil Simon's Brighton Beach Memoirs at 30 by 90 in Mandeville. So it's really fun, especially when, unfortunately, the theaters here on in Orleans Parish haven't been able to reopen again yet.
So again, we're here tonight to talk not only about your work as a theater critic, but also essentially to highlight this incredible campaign that you've been involved with Covenant House, a fundraiser that you were even actually able to do last year, pandemic and all. You were able to raise money for Covenant House. So tell me a little bit about how people can contribute to you. And how it is that you got started with this thing. Let's first off back up. When did you first get engaged with this, and how did you become associated with Covenant House as far as a fundraiser?
Well, it began in 2014 when Rich Arnold had emailed me to be on his team, I think it was, to help raise funds. And I'm like, oh, no, I think it was he had solicited me for a donation. And I was like, well, why not I try to raise funds House as well, because I had done that with the No Age Walk over the years, and then it just things had changed. I was ready to support a different organization, and this was a great match. So the first year I raised about $6,000, and it was the top fundraiser of all the organizations involved. And next year raised about $9,000, and it's been going up ever since then. So that in the past 7 years, I've raised over $100,000 for Covenant House. And such a wonderful and necessary organization here in New Orleans that I'm happy to do it.
We talked a little bit earlier with Rich about what their mission is and what they do, but they're all over the country. I mean, it's not just New Orleans. They have people who have nights out with Covenant House in New York. I know Audra McDonald spent many nights out over the last several years trying to fundraise, as do a lot of other Broadway people. So it's not just a local effort, but the monies that you're raising are going specifically to Covenant House New Orleans, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to support me, that would be great. You can find my Facebook page, and there are links to the fundraiser. I think I can't give you the exact address, but if you just do a little Googling Brian Sands Covenant House, you should be able to find it. And I'll get you the link, Alan. Maybe you can post it as well.
Rich and I and you will work on that, getting all together. So tell me a little bit about what's involved. You started this up. You said around 2013, 2014, something like that. So tell me how many miles do you actually travel? How many miles do you bicycle?
Well, that's a very good question. That's a good question, Alan. Because as you know, the Crystal City Classic is a 10K race.
Yeah.
I have no urge to run and hey, sorry, no. I'll walk it and take my time and see friends and have a nosh along the way, and that's wonderful. But last year, when the race went virtual, I'm more of a biker. So I decided to do a loop around New Orleans. I biked from the French Quarter where I live up to the lakefront. It was a beautiful day. Then came down Carrollton Avenue to Audubon Park and Magazine Street, proceeded back up to the quarter, and since I was still feeling invigorated, I biked all the way out to the Chopin battlefield and back for a total of about 30 miles. So this year I have promised that I will bike 2 miles for every $1,000 raised. So with a goal of 25,000, that's about exactly 50 miles that I am looking forward to do on April 3rd.
And again, an amazing amount of effort there. Do your people pledge money based on the number of miles? Do they pledge money? In other words?
They make the donations anywhere from $5 to $10,000.
I got you.
Most of them are in the $50 to $100 range, but no amount is too small. Every amount is greatly appreciated, and it adds up. So right now I'm to a little over 18,000, and hoping to get to 25,000 by
And you made what, 6,000 the first year, so you had a steady upward slope in terms of donations.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and I assume that what was your total last year that you raised?
Just over 23,000.
Okay, so that's why the 25,000 this year. Every year it goes up. Well, all I can tell you is it's a wonderful, noble effort, and I know that there are a lot of people who are in the theater world who would like to support you. And again, we'll get all of that information. I will definitely have all the information as to where people can donate to you. And again, Rich and I, have gone over a little bit about where the money's going to. But is there anything that you wanted to talk a little bit about as to what you were most impressed with Covenant House in terms of what their outreach is, what they're doing?
Well, I think everything about it really, because the facility is located not far from me, and I'll bike by and I'll see something, just hang out in the yard or play at the basketball court, and I think how fortunate I am, and most of the people, all the people I know are, and they have never wound up in a situation like this, and I just think it's really important in general, and especially these days, to help those who are less fortunate than us, and especially because their youth. Covenant House comes in at a time where they can help get their lives back on track, and has been amazingly successful doing so. So I just want to do all I can to support them in their efforts.
And here you are with your bicycle in the quarter. I'm assuming that's near your front door.
That was last year, right before starting out on the big journey.
Yeah, and I know you sent another picture, which I'm sharing with Rich, that we're showing of you near Wisner, right, with City Park behind you. But you again, I think are probably, when I think about people bicycling, you have done this and made it into a lifestyle more so than most people. And I'm always, it seems like, offering, would you like a ride? Because I can put your bicycle in the back, and you usually say, no, I'm okay. And
I recently discovered that I can even bike out to Rivertown and CPAS. So when the weather's nice, and you might see me just biking all the way out there.
Well, now, if you go Rivertown, I mean, what would you do? River Road? Or how would you basically do that?
Along the levee.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long way. It's longer than the other way, isn't it? Doesn't, by going through the river?
But you know what? After I started doing more bike riding than usual, after everything shut down last March. So whereas last year 7 miles seemed like a long bike ride, now anything under 20 is no big deal.
Is it like safer that there are fewer cars on the street, or is it still hazardous that you have to, watch out and be wary of the drivers?
I've never had an accident in 30 years, knock wood. So I just am always cautious. Having grown up in New York, I try to have eyes in the back of my head on the side as well, and just be very, very careful. And so far, it's worked out well.
Well, God bless you for all of your efforts, and again, I know that as a fellow theater critic, I'm glad that you're doing something, to sort of take up some of your time when we have fewer shows to do and to review. So, obviously you're not idled, and you're not, sitting around waiting for the next thing to happen. What are you looking forward to coming up in the future? Anything that you're hoping to see in terms of what you're envisioning for our new normal? Do we have a shot at seeing the return of the shows that we?
It is a little too early to say. I'm working on something that I think is going to be very exciting, that should be ready for a public announcement in June or July, and I hope we can chat about it further then. And that's all I can say right now.
What about the show that you had been doing with Brad Rhymes, who, of course, was from the New Orleans Advocate, now, of course, the Times-Picayune / New Orleans Advocate? Are you all still doing theater podcasts of sorts?
on hiatus for now, but we're looking forward to starting up again once things get going. He's more focused on productions here in Orleans Parish, just because of whatever the Times Picayune Advocate likes for him to cover. So once things start up again here, I'm sure we'll start it as well. So we're looking forward to that.
Okay, well, I'm looking, like I say, anytime I can be of any help to you with that, and I certainly would love to have maybe the two of you come on and talk about your show and maybe help promote the, the past episodes that you've had. I've had pretty much, a year of doing this. I took a little bit of time off this last month for some personal family issues that were going on, and also pretty much, like everybody was talking about Zoom fatigue. After a year of doing it, just about 11 months or so, I was getting to the point where I needed to have a little bit of time away from it, so I wasn't constantly dealing with having to go on every Monday, every Friday, or whatever. So, I would have missed an occasional Friday or an occasional Monday if there was some conflict. As an example, this last week.
Alan Smason
well, yeah. But I mean, like last week, it was Liza Minnelli's 75th birthday celebration, and it was very difficult to get away. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but it was quite lovely in terms of the tribute to her. I'm sorry that she couldn't make it herself, but I mean, there were some amazing people on there who were performing in some cases, but most of them just wishing Liza, a very happy birthday and reminiscing about how they got to meet her. So, those sorts of things are kind of special. And I know that we're looking forward to the return of the theaters, maybe coming back at 50% capacity, maybe coming back, a little bit more than that. But baby steps, it looks like, for the time being. It doesn't seem like any time soon. Yeah.
For the time being, I would encourage people to check out theaters like Seidel Little Theater, Rivertown, JPAS, 30 by 90 in Mandeville, Playmakers Theater in Covington, and Swamplight Theater in Ponchatoula, all doing worthy work and just wonderful entertainment.
Yeah, well, I'm going to leave you with a picture to remind you of where we were about 2 years ago, and there we were.
Oh yeah.
That was in April of 2019, and you were on your way, if I'm not mistaken, to see Tootsie, and I was at the front house there of the Winter Garden about to see Beetlejuice.
Yes, indeed.
And I turned out and I said, Brian, and you turned around. I was so amazed that there you and I are both from New Orleans, both theater critics, and both covering the Broadway arts, as it were. So,
the small world.
Very small. And in New Orleans gets smaller all the time. Well, listen, thank you for your time and best wishes. And we'll put up all the information for everybody who's going to be supporting you with Covenant House. And again, God bless you for all the work you're doing. Take care, and we'll be right back.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
And there you have it. Our conversation with none other than Brian Sands. And you can see, raising money. That's $1 million that was raised, and he contributed to that effort. So congratulations. That's fantastic. So again, that wraps up most of what we were going to talk about tonight for NOLA Theater Talk. I hope the sound came out all right. I did hear one comment. Somebody said they couldn't hear Brian, and I'm sorry. Sometimes these things happen. Hopefully you heard what he was saying, and hopefully it made an impact. But I'll make Brian's talk available on the YouTube channel. I'll make it visible to everybody, and anybody who wants to go back and listen to it separately from tonight, you'll be able to do that. A couple of things I wanted to talk about, and before we wrap up tonight, and that is to do with the book arts. We are about to have a continuation this weekend of the Artist Retreat for the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival. Those of you who know, normally in New Orleans, we would have a combination of the Saints and Sinners group that would be meeting, which is essentially a group that started up, Paul Willis had started and promoted issues within the LGBTQ community. And they've been together now for 15 years. I believe it's 50, could even be 18. But in any event, certainly a large enough number that they've actually established their own presence. And they would be down at the Tennessee Williams Festival at the same time as everybody else would be meeting. And the artists in residence, they would have people who would come down and meet during that week and discuss Tennessee in a scholarly fashion. And then, of course, you would have all the other events, the Stella shouting contest and the other in-person events that would take place. Well, that all happened on 1 week, usually opening up on Wednesday and continuing Thursday and Friday and Saturday and culminating on Sunday with the Stella and Stanley shouting contest. Well, long and the short is that essentially because of the nature of having a virtual conference, which is what they've gone to this year, they've had to split it up, because if they had tried to do everything in one weekend, nobody would be able to go to anything virtually. There'd just be too much competition. So they spread it out over a 3-week period, which was very smart. I think that they've really thought this thing through. And as a result, a lot of the people who will be down for books, etc., will be down next week. But there are some people studying Tennessee, and some of the scholarly discussions will go on this week. So there will be some interest about what's going on in the book world. But I have actually had a couple of books that I wanted to let everybody know I'm in the middle of reading. First off, those of you who know about the personage of Douglas Turner Ward will know I have his book now. This is actually Gus Edwards' book. Gus had a series of conversations with Douglas Turner Ward, and it's called Advice to a Young Black Actor. And again, those of you who don't know, Douglas Turner Ward was born upriver from New Orleans, between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, essentially. Became a resident of New Orleans when he was a young man. Ended up going off to Michigan for college, and eventually became a resident of New York somewhere around 1948. And did not live in New Orleans after that point, but was an integral part of the Black theater experience. Wrote a memorable essay, which I read a few weeks ago in the New York Times. Was published in, I believe, 1964, August of 1964, at a time when the Civil Rights Bill had really been advanced in Congress. Was asking questions about, where is Black theater? Why isn't it in more abundance? And he really wrote this beautifully phrased and a very well nuanced opinion piece that essentially got him the funding to establish his own theater within the next year. And so he started up the Negro Ensemble Company. And again, from that point on, Black theater was established in the New York area. And of course, they became, if you will, the formula that was copied in other markets, etc. So I've got this book to read. I just got it yesterday. And one of our New Orleans personages here in theater, Tommy Myrick, informed me after I had put out a call that she was actually mentored by Douglas Turner Ward. And so I think it's really important to talk about the people who have gone before and their impact, why they were so important, and what they did. And so I really want to have Tommy on the show. I wanted to have her on tonight. She's very busy doing some other things, working in film and doing some things on set right now. So I can't get her. But I want to read this. I want to go through it. I want to absorb what there is in this about different aspects of what he has to say. And I want to revisit this. But I want you to know that this is in the offing. It's going to happen. And we will talk about it. And again, it's very important to me that we do that. The other piece that I'm in the middle of dealing with right now is this. It's called Lilyville. It's the memoir of Tova Feldsha. And those of you who know Tova know what an incredible actor she is. She is, to my mind, one of the greatest actors on or off Broadway, in film, etc. Those of you who know Golda's Balcony know that she originated the role off Broadway, which then became a Broadway a piece. That she has been seen in any number of other pieces in more recent years. She played Leona Helmsley, and she's done a number of roles, establishing herself as just a wonderful actor. And this book is so well written, and it is a loving tribute to her mom. Of course, that's Tova as a young lady, but right to the side here is her mom. If you can see, let me see if I can point it right there. There you go. There's her mom. So she's really literally in the shadow of her mom there in that photo. Tova and her mom. And she calls it Lilyville. That's her mom's name was Lily. And it's called Mother, Daughter, and Other Roles I've Played. And the whole book is set out like you would have a play. It's set out with, a certain number of acts and intermission, and then you have essentially different scenes, etc., that go through the whole time, and then you've got an ending, an encore, and eventually a curtain call. Very well done, very cleverly written, and I would recommend. It's coming out next month. For those of you who can't wait for my review, I'm very positive about this piece. I think it's really something that you all should look for in the bookstores. It's not that long, but it's long enough to get you absorbed and really feeling, what it meant to be an actor, an actress, in her case, obviously a female going into theater, but also somebody who was coming right at the end, if you will, of World War II, where she was growing up right at that era when they were engaged. The United States was engaged in the war against the Axis, and how important the fight against the Nazis and those people who hated Jewish people, etc. She really does a wonderful job of talking about the way the era was and what went on with her life at that time and through the years. I have not finished the whole book, so I'm not going to tell you what goes on, but I can tell you that the parts I've read thus far are absorbing. Very impressed with her writing, and again, I didn't expect not to be, because she's such a wonderful actor. I just knew that she would probably do a great job writing the book down, and she has such passion and really so much love for her mom that it really comes across as a gift and as a beautiful tribute, not only to her parents, her mom especially, but all those people who have been meaningful members in her life, and her family, etc. So we're going to talk about that maybe at another future show. But I just wanted everybody to know that that's on the literary landscape as well, and maybe of some interest when it comes out next month in April, to look for it in your local bookstore. I'm hoping that maybe Octavia Books will have it. I know that Garden District Books just got sold, so I don't know who's over there. It had been Brenton Trice, as far as I know, but we'll see who's over there now. I don't know who's running the show, but in any event, maybe one of the local bookstores, or maybe one of the online bookstores, the Amazons, etc., might have it for you to look at as well. So keep that in mind. The piece that I got by Gus Edwards was difficult to get. They only had a few copies available online, and it wasn't used or whatever. But I wanted to get a new copy so that it wouldn't be marked up or whatever. So I recommend you all look at that as well. Now, coming up next Monday, we have a really wonderful show, and I wanted to remind everybody. I ran it a little bit earlier, but Augustine Carrero of the Tennessee Williams Theater Company will be our guest, and he's going to be joined by his co-artistic director, Nick Shackelford. They're going to be talking about Augustine's new book called Tennessee 101, which will be part of the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival coming up next week. I believe it is on Saturday a week that he'll have his session in the middle of the day. And I think it's only $10 to go to the session, but I recommend you listen to what he has to say on Monday and make up your minds for yourselves as to whether or not you want to go on the session and be a part of that. But I think that Augustine and Nick have done an incredible job of advancing the agenda of Tennessee Williams's works and being a fitting companion to the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival. So we're looking forward to seeing what they have to do coming up in future shows. And again, congratulations to them. And I understand that Loyola is having some shows for their in-house viewing this week. So congratulations that they're advancing their agenda and allowing their people to see what's going on. Again, if you ever want to check out these broadcasts and leave a comment, all you need to do is go on either YouTube or Facebook and leave your comments. It won't show up with your name unless you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. But hopefully, you'll be able to do that. And again, I thank you all for being with me tonight. I want to thank Rich Arnold and Brian Sands for being with us tonight on NOLA Theater Talk. Again, my name is Alan Smason, and you can watch this show on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, on the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, and on our own YouTube channel. And again, from me to you, I want to wish you all a very wonderful weekend coming up, and I'll see you all at the theater.